Hi everyone, Rose Wildsmith here. Today I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful papers. And these are made with Procion dye, which is commonly used for tie-dyeing fabric. So of course you'll need some Procion dyes. The kind of paper that you need to use is something with natural fibres. This one is made with wood-free cellulose. Cellulose is a natural fibre, so that's fine. This one works really nicely. This is made with bamboo. And then I've also got some of this Cardi cotton rag paper, and that will also work because bamboo, cotton and cellulose are all natural fibres. To get the lovely crinkly effect, this was done using ice dye technique, which if you've ever done fabric dyeing, you may have some idea of what that is. And what you do is you scrunch the fabric up, and then you layer it with ice and then the dye on top, and then it trickles down. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to crumple the paper up, maybe I should do this momigami technique first, which is where you repeatedly scrunch up the paper and it turns into a kind of fabric. One thing I would recommend is to use something for your hands. I like to use this Art Guard, which is a barrier cream, but you could use any kind of hand cream, but you don't want to have too much on because you don't want the paper to get too kind of oily. Usually when you do momigami, it's recommended that you actually put a little bit of oil onto the paper to help it become the sort of supple texture that I showed you. But with this, I would worry that then it would prevent the chemical reaction with the dye. It would prevent the dye getting to the paper. So you don't want to have it too oily. You just want to have something just to protect your hands because it can be quite rough on your hands if they're dry. So you just want to start gently crumpling it up. And you want to start out really gently because it's very easy to tear the paper at this stage. So you scrumple it up and then you open it up again and then you crunch it up in a different orientation. This can be quite a good stress relieving technique. And just look, I've already made a tear there. I don't mind because I'm going to use this for collage. The more gentle you are, the fewer tears you're going to get in the paper. And you can see already it's turned into quite a nice texture. But I'm going to keep going because I really want this to become almost fabric-like, this paper. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to do this with lots of different sheets of paper and then we can go and take them and start doing the dyeing process. Okay, so I've prepared all the papers now. Now you may know that when you're working with Procion dyes, usually when you're working with fabric, you soak the fabric in a soda ash solution beforehand. But with this paper, last time I didn't do that and I think it still turned out pretty nicely, but I want to experiment this time because there were quite a lot of white spots left and I was wondering how it would work if I sprayed the paper with a soda ash solution. So that's what we're going to try. So I'm going to prepare some soda ash solution and put it into a spray bottle. So what you need is 250 mils or 1 cup of warm water and 1 tablespoon of soda ash, or you can just get soda crystals, washing soda. It's quite cheap if you buy it this way. It basically just raises the pH and helps to fix the dye to the fibres. So 1 teaspoon, and pop that in there. And you just use warm water because it helps it to dissolve nicely. I'm just going to use a funnel to fill up this bottle. There we go. So I'm going to take all this up to the bathroom and I'm going to start to spray the papers, and then we can start preparing for actually doing the dyeing. Okay, so here I am. I'm in the bathroom and I've got this big box here for putting all of my papers in. And last time I put just some uncrumpled pieces of paper in the bottom of the tray, and this is what caused these pieces with the beautiful edges, which I think look a bit like photography paper that's been exposed to the light or something. So what I'm going to do is just spray, sorry about the shadows. So it's damp, but it's not sopping wet. And then I'm just going to lay these in the bottom. So now I'm going to start with the crumpled pieces of paper. And I'm going to do the same with these. I'm going to spray them with this. Just enough for them to be damp, but not sopping wet. And I'm going to crumple them up in a pleasing fashion. Almost forgot. I'm going to also put some sheets of paper towel. They take the dye so well. They're so lovely to work with afterwards. The paper towel doesn't really need spraying because it's so absorbent and it just takes the dye so well even when it's dry. Right, this is one of the cardi paper. This might need quite a bit of spray to really soak into it. So it's quite thick paper. Kind of like leather, it's so thick. And this is how the cardi paper turned out last time, and I wasn't as pleased with this as I was with some of the others. It didn't really take the dye as well. So I'm going to do this one again, just to see what it's like when you have a second go. But I'm also going to spray it this time. And I'm hoping that by having the papers be a little bit damp, they will wick the dye a bit better. We shall see. Maybe it's just very thick paper is not suitable for this. I don't know. This is some of the bamboo paper. Just going to give all these a bit of a spray just to keep them damp. And I momigami'd some music paper. Crumple up some tissue paper, kitchen paper, to fill in some of the gaps. So I found this piece from last time, which I wasn't as bothered about this one as I was some of the other ones, so I'm going to try re-dyeing this one as well. So I actually went and bought bags of ice from the supermarket. Of course you could make your own ice, but I've tried doing that before with all the ice cube trays we have, and just, it wasn't quite enough. get these big clumps. You want to bash those up so that they're little bits. This is all the ice I have, so I'm going to have to spread it out. Next stage is to put the dye on. So with Procion dyes, you don't want to inhale the powder, so it's really important to use a face mask when you're dealing with the powders. Once they're wet, they're non-toxic, can stain your skin, but they're not going to hurt you. 3 colours I'm going to use for this are dragon fruit, which is kind of magenta, turquoise, and citrus yellow. So hopefully we'll get a bit of a rainbow thing happening. And a little of this stuff goes a long way. So you want to just use it sparingly. I've just got 1/4 teaspoon here. And then I'm going to just do little areas. Okay, I'm going to call that good. Now I'm going to put the lid on. And come back when all the ice has melted. Okay, so it's the next day and now I'm gonna open up my box and see how the ice dye with the papers has gone. That's really exciting. Okay, so today I'm wearing gloves because yesterday I didn't think I was even touching the dye and I managed to get my hands all mucky. Oh, look at this. So all the ice has melted over, I've left it overnight. I have no idea how it's worked. So doesn't that look good? I think this might have been the one that I had already dyed. Which one shall I pick next? This one. guys, I've just come back to finish taking the stuff out of the dye bath. I'm really excited. I just started taking them out and there's some really amazing stuff. Aren't they beautiful? And this one as well. But even cooler than that, this is one where there was a music sheet on top of it and the ink, I guess, from the music sheet has acted as a kind of resist. So cool. I'm so happy with this. Look at the bath, it's a complete mess. I've got all the kitchen paper sort of on the side here to dry because as you can see, I'm running out of space to dry things here really. All right, I've got to remember to put my gloves back on. Oh, that, isn't it beautiful? Ooh. Look, it's done it a little bit on this one as well. And look on the back. Oh, so cool. It's a bit like a lucky dip. Oh, look at that. Oh, isn't that cool? I'm never quite sure how many layers you can get away with in this technique, but it seems like even the ones right at the bottom have done okay. Tell you what, I am so lucky that I have a very understanding husband. Just look at this mess. Oh dear me. I've got splashes of dye. Look at the sink. Oh my goodness. I am such a mess maker, but look, isn't it beautiful mess? Oh. Okay, so these are actually still a little bit damp. Look how terrible my fingers have got. These are still a little bit damp, but I'm going to press them anyway, because actually them being a bit damp helps with ironing them out. You can see the steam coming off. Actually even looks a bit better now that it's been ironed because all of the creases show up even more somehow. This one doesn't really need to be pressed because it wasn't crumpled up, but I will just press down these bits. So here are the results from our ice dyeing experiment. I've sorted them into the categories of the different kinds of papers and the different kinds of techniques, and I've made little notes for myself because otherwise I'll definitely forget. So I'll just show you, these are the kitchen rolls and I think they came out really nicely. I love these splotchy colours, and some of them are a lot lighter than others. These bluey purpley ones are from today, and then there are ones that I did on a different occasion and they're very orangey brown, so it really shows you the overall colour that you've used that day. These are from another time when I was doing tie-dyeing with my daughter. We had squeezy bottles full of dye from a packet where you put the dye powder in and shake it up with water, and so the soda ash solution is kind of mixed into the dye. So once you've activated it with the water, it's on a limited time before it's going to stop working at all. So we had some left over and I decided I'd try dyeing the papers, and we kind of squirted it on with the bottles. Look, here are some of those music prints. Oh look, more music prints here. Interesting results, much more experimental and splashy, but I really like this. Now, these are from today and these are from last time, and these are both this kind of paper that's 125 GSM wood-free cellulose paper. So the difference here is these ones went into the dye bath dry without any soda ash spray. These ones went into the dye bath slightly damp and with the soda ash spray. And there is really quite a marked difference between the results. These ones ended up with quite a lot more of these areas of concentrated colour. And also I didn't rinse these either. So I don't know what would happen if I rinsed this now. I think maybe some of this would come off because it looks like it's actually little bits of powder. Whereas these ones I rinsed, and maybe that also added to this watery effect. So I don't know that I like one more than the other. I think they're both really nice. I don't know how much the soda ash solution actually made much of a difference, but it's interesting to see how the different experiments turned out. So these are the ones I showed you right at the beginning of the video. I'll just flick through these ones that we did today so you can see how the final result turned out. They're different on each side. Okay, so these ones are the Hanamula Bamboo 265 GSM, and I really like the texture of this paper. It's turned into a really soft, almost velvety feel to the surface, and I really love it. I don't know whether that's the momigami or the dyeing process, or maybe a combination of the two. See, I think with the thicker paper you get these areas of white where the dye can't quite penetrate as easily. So I'm not so keen on that, but I do really like the texture of this paper. Look, on this one, on the back it's pretty much all white. The same with this one. Really like the texture. Really velvety and lovely. Okay, now these are going back to this Shut paper, 125 GSM. These are the ones that were done today, and these are the ones that were done last time. So you can see already there's more spots of dye here that hasn't dispersed through because these were all dry paper. These are the ones that were on the top, so they've got the kind of icy ice cube texture. Now these ones had more white spaces in the middle and more of this dye seepage from the outside. These ones had more of those music note prints, and I really love the watery effect of how the dye has dispersed through the paper. I'll go through each one of these because they're so beautiful. That was the top one. Love these music prints. think this is my favourite piece of the whole thing. I love these music notes, I love this speckly bit here. And I love how the dye has kind of moved through the paper. So these are the music papers. These are the ones that I did dry, and these are the ones that I did sprayed with the soda ash solution. So you can definitely see that it being dry meant that the dye didn't penetrate through into the middle of the papers as easily. Whereas with this one, it moved all the way through. So that's quite interesting, different effects there. I actually really like how you get this edge. Well, that's just gorgeous, isn't it? Really like this. And these are the ones that we did today, so I'll give you a flick through of these. These were the music papers that I momigami'd and scrunch dyed, and I really like how this one turned out. Love these textures here. Now this was the cardi paper, so this was the very thick paper, and you can see again with the thicker papers the dye finds it harder to get to all of the places. It's quite a lot of white space. But I like this veining here, very cool. This one's pretty much all white. So it's not that I don't like that, but it's just interesting to note that maybe with the thinner papers you'll get more of the paper actually dyed, whereas with these thicker ones you're going to get more white space. And so these are the ones that I dyed twice. This is the cardi paper that I dyed twice, and you can see in comparison, dyed once, dyed twice. So this one has much more of a kind of rich colour thing going on. This one has much more separate areas of bright colour. So that's the cardi paper that I dyed again, and then this is the bamboo paper that I dyed twice. So there we go, those are all my ice dye papers, and I really hope you enjoyed watching. Which one was your favourite, and will you try this technique? Please let me know in the comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video. Okay, bye bye!